We are going to talk about what FARAH Maalim said in a meeting of the Somalis. He spoke in Kisomali. There was subtitles in English, and there is a hula baloo concerning what he said. I was shocked and annoyed with the way Jeremiah Kioni behaved in a local studio concerning the issues. Jeremiah Kioni wants to give a certain picture of a militant and somebody he wants to associate with himself with the GNC because that is a big voting bloc. That is the only reason. I will have to tell the young people that be very careful when a politician sides with you, because most politicians will side with you if he's going to get votes from you because of you. Now he knows that if he says what he says, uh, it will translate into him being politically popular. So don't even think for once that he does anything because of you. When you're translating something from one language to another language, you have to be very, very careful. There is the translation, there is the wordings that FARAH Maalim said in Kisomali. There is the translation that was done in subtitles in English. And then even with that English, which I may not completely agree, okay, 90% or whatever, or for a better, because I cannot translate better than the translator did, but I would say that anybody who is fluent in both Somali and English would have made some small alterations here and there. I want to give you an example of how to translate things in a very simple way, and you'll find that you are confused or something like that. When you are translating two languages, you have seen those people who walk around with presidents. Find that like the Kenyan president could go to China and he will be talking in English, and then the Chinese president would be talking in Chinese, and there is somebody here in between who translates it. When you're translating two languages, you have to think very fast. You have to study the two languages. That is basic. Second, you have to try to study the individual who is talking. And lastly, you have to study the individual who is getting the point. That is why when this person who stays, you can see that person, smartly dressed person, seated behind those two presidents. And when one is making a joke, let's say you're making a joke in one language, this one can translate the same joke to the other language so fast that the other VIP who will be understanding the language, who will be get the receiver of the joke, would receive it and laugh in such a way that you'd even have thought that he understood that joke. So that is not easy. Translating one language to another is not easy. Yes, I am a linguistic. I speak 9 Kenyan languages plus English and Kiswahili. You add on Lingala, you add on Kinyarwanda, and you add on Kirundi. Forget about Kinyarwanda, Rundi, and Lingala. Let us talk about the Kenyan languages. I speak 9, and the 9th language is the Kisomali. Of course, I know Kisomali are a bit different because you find the Somali spoken by Ajuran, and Gare is not exactly the Somali that is spoken by Ogaden or something, but you have to be very knowledgeable in the language to know that. The languages that I speak: 1. Turkana, 2. Pokot, 3. Bukusu, 4. Kikisi, 5. Kimasai, 6. Kikamba, 7. Kikuyu, 8. Kimeru, and 9. Kisomali. So even when I've rewatched the video that Maalim talked and whatever, and the subtitles, yes, subtitles are in the 90s and whatever. But then there is also this translation, 90% and over. Then there is also this translation that you don't translate something literally. You don't translate something literally. You translate the meaning of what is there. Let me give you an example, a very simple example. That one, you are where? You are at point A. Then somebody at point A tells you, or somebody at point A tells the second person, she has said. She has said. She has said, it means a human being who is feminine in nature has talked, isn't it? So this person A says, she has said. Now A is telling B, she has said. And then B translates it into Swahili and says, amesema. Amesema. Meaning, a human being has said. But in Kiswahili, they have not talked of anything to show that it is whichever gender the speaker was saying. Now that is what B tells C. Amesema. Then C is supposed to report to D in English. Remember, this story started in English. But then C has not met A. C had not had time to understand whether what the gender of the person who talked. So the C will say, he has said. He has said. So you see, in a very simple and genuine translation, has changed the gender of the speaker from a lady to a man. So when you are translating something from one language to another language, you have to think very fast, and you have to think on your feet, and you have to translate it into what it means. Now, let us now go to what FARAH MAALIM said in Kisomali, and of which generally, the person who was translating and placing there the subtitles generally translated correctly. Now, what FARAH MAALIM was saying was telling the Somalis, because he was talking in Kisomali language, he was castigating the action of youths. He was castigating the action of youths who entered into the parliament. Who entered into the parliament. And he said, he's a lawyer. He's a lawyer. So he said in Kisomali that the action of bringing down the wall of the parliament and entering into the parliament was treason. Was treason. Just treason, like going into State House. Just treason. Okay, nobody entered the State House, but he said it is just treason as entering the State House. He also said it is just treason like scaling the Supreme Court. Remember, we have three arms of the government. We have the legislature, which they overthrew because they entered there and took one of the messes. We have the judiciary, of which they entered through the walls. The only place they did not enter was State House. So he was saying that this is two-thirds of overthrowing the government. This is what we call popular uprising. So he was telling Somalis, because he was talking in Kisomali, that the Jinsis are very lucky. The Jinsis are very lucky that he is not the president of Kenya. He said, and I quote, that these young people are lucky that they did enter the parliament when God forbid, okay, let me not talk in English, because that if you are talking in English, you would say, God forbid I'm not the president, otherwise ABCD. But he said that what they did was a treasonable offense. It was a treasonable offense, and if I were to be the president, of which thank God I am not, I would have ordered the security personnel to shoot all those people who were entering the parliament. Remember, this is no different from Donald Trump's January 6th incident. It is just the same, exactly the same. So he was saying that, FARAH MAALIM was saying that if he were to be the president and a treason was being committed, he would have ordered the security personnel to fire at those youths who were around 5,000 people. So my understanding of Somali is he was also telling the Somalis, or Somali speakers, because I'm not a Somali, but I understood the language. So he was telling us who understand Somali that we should not try that thing. And one way is he was praising William Samoei Arap Ruto. He was saying that if it was somebody else, and if Farah Maalim was to be the president, those 5,000 jinsis, their life would not have been guaranteed. He would have said, mow them down. But then Jeremiah Kioni changes it. I don't know whether Jeremiah Kioni understands Somali. Me, I do. But even if he understood or anything, he had just chosen an opportunity where he was playing to the gallery. As I started, I said, it is not 5,000 jinsis who were killed that day. But according to Farah Muhammad, and he's an MP and a former deputy speaker, so, and a lawyer. So his estimate was the number of youths who entered the parliament that day were 5,000. So he said that if I were the president, and I thank God I was not the president, I would have ordered the security to kill the 5,000. Now Jeremiah Kioni comes up and says 5,000 jinsis were killed, and this man is not apologizing, this man is not whatever. Please. The blood of one jinsi is the blood of 50 million Kenyans. That one we agree, Kenyan people. But then, why should we exaggerate things? Why don't we say the way they are, so that at least the history will judge us correctly? That is why I'm annoyed with the Jeremiah Kioni. He was unfair, and it was unfair to have said that 5,000 jinsis were killed, and that Farah Maalim was supporting the killing of 5,000. I have just told you exactly the best translation that can be done of Farah's statement. Thank you.